I'm Duncan McLeod, and this is TechCentral's TCS Plus, the business technology show, which is brought to you today by WIOCC Group and FirstNet. I'm joined in the studio today by WIOCC's Carlos de Almeida. Carlos is a director for sales for South Africa at WIOCC, and he's joined in the studio today by Sean van Niekerk, GM of FirstNet Technology Services, which has just concluded an interesting deal with WIOCC for the supply of capacity on the new 2Africa submarine cable. Gentlemen, welcome. Thank you for making the time.
Thank you, Duncan.
Thank you, Duncan. Good to be here.
Great. Well, Carlos, sounds like a very interesting deal. I'm quite excited to learn more actually about the 2Africa cable system and how that's progressing. So let's do that. But before we chat about 2Africa, just tell me a bit about WIOCC for our viewers and listeners who probably heard of the name but perhaps are not aware of everything it does. Give us the quick pitch.
Sure, absolutely. The 45-second elevator speech. So WIOCC stands for West Indian Ocean Cable Company and is a connectivity company. It's a carrier of carriers. On our DNA is to provide connectivity, IPT services, metro services, submarine connectivity to operators. So we do not deal with the end user. So
wholesale only.
Wholesale only, and we only deal with partners like FirstNet, which will then take these services and onward sell them or add and overlay their magic, their value-added services on top of this infrastructure, and then position these to the end users. And those end users can be a variety of end users, can be FTTB, FTTH, can be small operators as well. So that is the connectivity side of the business. Then we have the colocation business, which is open access data center, where we provide colocation power and remote hands again to operators. In this instance, the colocation business is open to end users. I would say the enterprise market, because there is no conflict between what the data center business does and the colocation does. We actually, the business is actually separated, and clients are not forced to take one and the other. They can either take colocation business from us and stop there and bring their own connectivity of choice, or they can take colocation from us together with connectivity from WIOCC.
Okay.
So that is in a nutshell.
And you operate right across the African continent. It's not only South Africa.
Yes, we operate right across the African continent. We have we actually own a number of submarine cables around Africa, the likes of Ikiano. We have a 30% stake on WIOCC and EC. And obviously we own fibre pair on 2Africa. And
the name, of course, the West Indian Ocean Cable Company, comes from your origins as an investor in the Easy Cable, which runs along Africa's east coast. But the business is better known today as simply WIOCC.
Precisely.
Yeah.
Precisely.
Okay. So tell us a bit about the 2Africa cable system. It's often associated with Meta Platforms because they're one of the investors and probably the most famous investor in the system. But tell us about 2Africa. What is it? How did you get involved? What is your investment?
It comprises of 8 consortium members, and obviously Meta, Facebook, Orange, WIOCC, MTN, Vodafone, STC, Egypt Telecom, and China Mobile. These are the consortium members. 2Africa is the largest submarine cable ever deployed. It's a 45,000 kilometer cable.
The largest cable system ever deployed.
The longest cable ever deployed. It has a combined capacity of about 180 terabits capacity.
That's the design capacity.
That is the design capacity.
Using current technologies.
Using current technology, and the technology is called space division multiplexing.
I saw that, spatial division multiplexing. I'm putting you on the spot here, but what is that? Something to do with the way the wavelengths are split and divided up over the fibre pairs.
Time, space, and obviously it's no longer just a Cartesian representation, it's beyond that. It touches 33 countries in Africa, has 46 cable landing stations around Africa. The topology of the cable is, actually circumvents the African continent. And essentially connects Africa to Asia and Europe. So,
and what is the status of the system currently? We know it's been under construction for some time, and correct. Clearly the link, we're going to be talking about the link between the Western Cape and KZN today, so that leg is obviously live. But where are we with the construction of the entire system?
So the system is live between Douanefontein in Cape Town and Djibouti. So that is part of what we call the 2Africa Gera. Gera stands for Great Eastern Route of Africa. And then there is 2Africa West, which, yes, is still under construction. And we expect that to be RFS towards the end of this year, 2024.
So it's running up to Djibouti at this point. I take it it's not yet connected through the Red Sea?
No, not yet connected. Well, the cable is there, but it's not yet connected. And obviously we're waiting for stability so we can complete our mandate.
Yeah, for sure. But fascinating investments. So FirstNet, Sean, is your client on this leg between KZN and, where did you say the landing station was in Cape Town?
Douanefontein, which is basically Cape Town and Durban, more specifically Amamzitoti.
Mazamtoti, that's right, because you've built a landing station there, haven't you?
Precisely. So Amamzitoti is actually the cable landing station for 2Africa. So the 2Africa cable, there is a beach manhole. And then the cable runs into our data center, our open access data center in Amamzitoti, where, the SLT equipment is located, and all consortium members are there.
Right.
So, and it is in this open access data center of Amamzitoti that FirstNet Technologies took not just capacity, but to co-location with us as well.
Understood. I'm going to get on to you in just a second, Sean, but the cable in north of Cape Town, I presume that then connects onto some of the other cable systems that run up the west coast. You mentioned WIOCC, you mentioned Equiano.
No, those are separate cables.
Those are separate cables.
Those are separate investments.
But I presume they interconnect with one another at some point.
No, they don't.
They don't yet? Okay.
They don't, no. Okay. So 2Africa is, an independent cable. What I did say is that we've got investments on other cables such as WIOCC, EC, and Equiano.
Right, right, understood. Sean, tell me a bit about, you're from Durban, first of all. Don't often chat to guys from Durban. I'm a Durban boy myself. I grew up there, so I have an affinity for the place. Tell me a bit about FirstNet. Are you headquartered in Durban?
Yes, yeah. Okay. So FirstNet Technology Services, founded in 2006, part of the First Technology Group, which as a group company has been around forever, early 80s. So from a FirstNet business, we're founded, head office in Durban, and offering customers a variety of ISP type services, from connectivity, obviously leveraging the likes of WIOCC, as well as voice and security, and cloud-based services.
But you started life as a kind of focused on the business market, right, rather than the consumer market.
Correct, yeah. So we aim more at the SMB and enterprise type customers, and we have a lot of retail type customers on our network, which obviously are quite demanding when it comes to latency and so on. So we're traditionally an enterprise focused organization, but as we've spun off now and realized that having all of this capacity on our network goes to sleep at night when those customers go to sleep. So, we've branched out the Urban Connect brand and started going into the consumer space. And so Urban X Connect is the another now group company. It's their own individual entity, and are doing the consumer fibre to the home, leveraging the back of our network that is quieter in the evenings.
Yeah, that makes sense. So Urban X Connect is, as I understand it, is actually focused on a specific segment of the market, primarily
consumer home user, but
gamers as well.
But the gamers. So
gamers,
correct.
right.
Yeah, we're one of the few, or if not the only, ISP dedicated to gamers. So, not to say that, we wouldn't take your normal average home user,
sure,
but certainly the way that we've built the network and the design of the network and everything that we've done from an Urban X Connect perspective is in the interest of giving the gamer.
So what does that actually mean? Low
latency, lower ping times, in other words, for the games, and, a solid, constant experience rather than a network that sort of goes up and down and changes, from day to day. Nothing worse than having the, a change in experience, an unstable, experience when trying to game. But yeah, so that was the spin-off of what we did on the back of our enterprise network. But from a FirstNet perspective, the retail customers, the maritime customers, all of those guys that are doing these real-time transactions and EDR transactions and so on that require low latency and stability. That was what it was designed for. And of course, leveraging WIOCC to give us that stability, specifically between KZN and Cape Town, because of the terrestrial cables are often vandalized and have problems down the east coast. So, moving that now out to sea has brought a lot better experience and a constant experience to the customers.
So just so I'm clear on this, is it really designed at connecting, say, data centers that are located in Cape Town with users who are in Durban and vice versa?
Correct. So obviously, customers have branch offices all over the continent or all over Southern Africa, and we're using the WIOCC capacity to connect data centers and be able to establish the main POPs of our network in those regions, and then we branch out from there to service the customer requirements. So, but yes, it's typically to connect the data centers together, and thus then being able to provide wide area network connectivity to customers that have branches in both locations.
So you're live today on 2Africa.
Yes, we are.
How are you finding the performance?
It's been fantastic. So, it's only been running for about a month now, and so far, absolutely no issues with it. It's been stable. We haven't had one blip. So, a great experience thus far.
We do know that these cable systems are sometimes prone, and there's to faults or to them being sliced in two, and we've seen that happen an inordinate amount of times in the last few months. There were cable faults up in West Africa. There have been cable faults in the Red Sea. There was recently a cable fault or two off the coast of KZN, in fact. I believe that the system is designed further out to sea. It should, hopefully, touch wood, be better protected against that sort of thing. We don't have seismic activity off the South African coastline. But incidents do happen. If there is an incident on this cable system, what happens to your services? Do you then revert to terrestrial fibre?
To terrestrial, yeah. So WIOCC have offered, or our relationship with WIOCC started a few years ago, doing terrestrial services. So, we also have capacity with WIOCC connecting Durban to Joburg to Cape Town, and we've triangulated that in a meshed environment. So, the 2Africa cable adds an element of resiliency and certainly the primary path between Durban and Cape Town. But it's only one leg of a multitude of connections that we have between the three main metros in country. Yeah.
How heavily impacted, Carlos, are terrestrial long-distance fibre networks relative to subsea cables?
They're more prone for having fibre cuts and power-related issues because of the reasons that we're all aware of. So more specifically, NLD 5 and 6 along the coastal route of South Africa. It's a brilliant route because it enables operators to provide a number of services along the coastal region with drop-insert approach. But it depends on obviously the business case and what you intend to achieve at the end of the day. If you're not doing drop insert approach and collecting or distributing IPT along the coastal regions, a cable system is the best option.
Sure.
Because it connects you from A to B. It's reliable. It's very unlikely to ever be susceptible to, vandalism or theft, or damage from shipping lanes or damage from anchoring ships. So, but those incidents still can happen.
Sure.
So, a properly designed solution obviously requires the triangulation that you opted for, and the peace of mind that you have.
So, Sean, what have you actually seen switching across to 2Africa in terms of latencies and speeds and that sort of thing? And have you heard any feedback from your customers?
Customers are great at telling you when there's a problem, but no one really comes forward and says, "Sure, we noticed a remarkable improvement. What happened?" But we've certainly seen an improvement in the latency that we're now getting between the two facilities in Durban and Cape Town. So it's opened up a whole world of opportunity now for us in the way we move data between data centers, specifically for our customers that are doing private cloud with us, and geographic location backups, where we're moving their data to a different region. As you know, KZN has had a spate of riots and floods and things, certainly not this year, but in the last 2-3 years. So, the customers were getting quite agitated about where does their data get backed up to. We can't have it in another facility still in the same province. We've got to move it somewhere else. And getting that path now to Cape Town has opened up the ability for us to do that far more efficiently and timeously, because you can't move the data over an extended period of time because it just becomes too old. You're not keeping in the relevant restore points and recovery points. So having the capacity and the lower latency has made that far more achievable for us. So,
Do you think, Carlos, that we'll see Joburg-based internet service providers looking at this route as well at some point, or does it make more sense to go down the national fibre route from Joburg?
No, absolutely. I'm pretty sure. I mean, obviously, FirstNet, they took the bold step, and they were the first ones, actually, to be on 2Africa. But I'm pretty sure there will be a follow-up by other internet service providers and operators, because it adds that degree of, reliability and stability. It's all about a combination of routes to achieve, that maximum degree of uptime that we all require.
Resiliency.
Resiliency, exactly.
That is that the last few months have shown is so important.
Precisely.
The impacts, particularly we've seen in West Africa and East Africa in the last few months. So you're expecting a range of ISPs to sign on for 2Africa to do exactly what FirstNet is doing?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay. How many landing stations does 2Africa have in South Africa? Was there a plan to build one in Port Elizabeth, or am I misremembering that?
Yes, there is a plan to build one in Port Elizabeth, but we are not part of that project.
Okay.
So we only have the Dwaynefontein one, which connects directly to our open access data center in Rondebosch. And then obviously Amamzi-Toti, which is again the CLS for 2Africa.
Why did you choose Amanzimtoti to land the cable there, by the way? Most of the cables land up at Mtunzini, and I know that's because the sea is quite shallow there, and I think it's quite easy to bring the cables ashore. I presume it's a similar arrangement in Amanzimtoti.
I'm not sure of the technical reasons that are behind Toti or the selection of Toti.
Presumably there was a lot of terrestrial fibre infrastructure near your data centre already that could be pulled into that data centre and then onto the undersea
No, we
cable.
actually trenched and built quite a lot of it.
Oh, did you?
Yes, we did. Yeah,
okay.
We did.
Okay.
So from Amamzi-Toti, we have a terrestrial infrastructure connecting to Turco River Horse. And also to another data center of ours, which is Mount Edgecombe.
Non-Eskom, okay.
Yeah,
There's a lot of data centers that have gone into that region in the last little while, actually.
Exactly. Those
River
are
Valley particularly.
Yeah, those are edge DCs, edge data centers, which actually act as an aggregation point.
Yes.
For operators to, aggregate their traffic. They can take collocation on those edge DCs as well, but they act essentially as an aggregation point for their networks.
Okay. So ultimately, the launch of the 2Africa system, the links between Cape Town and Durban, what does this mean for internet users? We've spoken about reliability and resilience. What does it mean for internet speeds in South Africa and also for costs? Does it drive down costs at some point?
It will. So, 2Africa essentially, once fully deployed, these are statistics that I've read. 2Africa will potentially connect 3 billion people around Africa. It's all about internet and digital inclusion at the end of the day. The economists predict that this investment will bring in the region of 0.6% GDP increase in terms of dollar value for the continent of Africa. So it's a substantial investment with substantial expectations and substantial returns as well. Like I mentioned before, it uses the latest technology available, so has this immense capacity. So we expect good things to come out of 2Africa, out of this investment.
Connecting 3 billion people, that's an amazing statistic. That's more than a third of the global population impacted by one cable system.
Precisely.
Just gives you an idea of the scale of this the system. But 45,000 kilometers, 3 continents, 33 countries, 3 billion people, and 180 terabits per second. And that's using current technology, presumably the dense wave division multiplexing or the spatial division multiplexing that 2Africa is using. That'll be improved over time as well. And that 180 figure could, in fact, double or triple over time.
Yeah.
If anyone wants to learn more about WIOCC, Carlos, what is the website?
WIOCC.net.
WIOCC.net. You weren't sure for a second. Sean, what's the address for FirstNet?
Yeah, www.firstnet,
firstnet.co.za.
Yeah.
Carlos D. Almeida is Director for Sales for South Africa at WIOCC and Open Access Data Centers, and Sean van Niekerk is GM of FirstNet. Thank you for an insightful discussion with our TechCentral audience today. Much appreciated.
Thank you.